Dennis, I'd like your perspective on whether you think Hitler was far right or was actually a far left ideologue. Okay, Hitler was left-wing in that he believed in socialism. Remember, Nazism is National Socialism. That is what Nazism stands for, National Socialism. In that sense, it was left-wing, but it was not left-wing in another sense. The left divided the world by class. That's the classic Marxist division of the world, class, the proletariat and the oppressor, if you will. Whereas Hitler divided the world by race. Race was neither left nor right until this moment. It is not a right-wing value. It's not right to say that he was right-wing, and it's not right to say he was only left-wing. He was partially left-wing. And by the way, he hated capitalism.
Okay, so I keep hearing this argument come up yet again in the year 2026, probably because the DSA is doing pretty well in the midterm run-up. But for, I don't know, the 35th time in history, we've got to rehash the fact that Hitler was not socialist. He was a fascist. Those sit on opposite sides of the political spectrum. And what's kind of funny is this argument came up on Twitter where some MAGA folks were arguing quite vehemently with Grok, saying that Hitler was a socialist and Grok was disagreeing with them using pretty good factual information. So I just kind of found that kind of funny that Elon Musk's little pet project was going against MAGA. But I digress. Now, saying Hitler was left-wing because the Nazis called themselves National Socialists is basically like saying Prager University is actually a university, or Trump University is an actual university, or Make America Great Again is actually making America great again. Hell, Germany today is more socialist than Germany was under Hitler. So you can say these things, but we need to focus on what Hitler actually did. Because right when he took power, like within the first few weeks, he immediately crushed the Communist Party, then he crushed the Social Democrat Party, then he arrested the Socialists and the Communists, he abolished independent labor unions and replaced them with Nazi organizations controlled by the state. He did not give German workers ownership of Krupp or Siemens or IG Farben. Private property remained a thing. Corporations remained a thing and were a big part of the war effort. So their profits remained. German industrialists continued owning their companies while the government increasingly directed their production towards rearmament and war. That is not Marxist socialism. It is an authoritarian, state-directed economy serving an ultranationalist racial dictatorship. And yes, Hitler criticized capitalism, but it's largely because capitalism is what put Germany into the box they were in post-World War I. He wasn't criticizing capitalism through the Marxist lens of workers versus owners. He blamed the international order and international finance under capitalism, but also blamed Marxism and communism simultaneously. And then he blamed it all in one big package on Jews, because his worldview was not fundamentally about economics. It was about race. The defining focus of Nazism wasn't the worker and their rights. It was about the German Volk, which is the people or the nation, specifically the purity of the people and the nation. The defining struggle wasn't proletariat versus bourgeoisie, it was the superior races against the inferior races. So the defining political values weren't equality and worker solidarity, it was the racial hierarchy, the ultranationalism, the militarism, the dictatorship, territorial expansion, and absolute loyalty to the Führer. That's why virtually every serious historian places fascism and Nazism on the radical right. Was he a complete laissez-faire capitalist? No, because that's what he saw his future enemies as. But he also saw the Soviets and their communism as his enemies. He used to call them animals and rejected their system of Marxism flat out. But the reason it was called the National Socialist Party is because they needed some way to subvert the people. And so they used socialist rhetoric to attract workers and subvert a term that was taking hold throughout Europe. This is like saying the Democratic People's Republic of Korea is both democratic and a republic. No, they're not. North Korea is an authoritarian communist dictatorship. See how that works? You can just make shit up and then say it. People seem to be able to just name things whatever they want for their purposes. And so if your definition of a socialist society includes a man who murdered socialists, outlawed socialist parties, destroyed independent unions, preserved private ownership of major industry, rejected Marxist class struggle, embraced racial hierarchy, and made Marxism one of his principal ideological enemies, then you have stretched the word socialist until it no longer means what you even remotely think it means. You've basically stretched socialists across the entire political spectrum. And I know that's exactly what you're trying to do, trying to gate yourself off from someone like Hitler.